Hello, everyone, and welcome to DMJunkies, a show made by DMs for DMs to show you your newest addiction of Dungeons and Dragons. I am your host, Kawaii Ali, and on TikTok, Kawaii RMS. And could my player guest please introduce himself?
Who are you? How did I get here? What's going on? I'm scared. I'm joking. I'm AKA Good Daddy. I play Valorant Draknok on A&I. And I also play Yurith, aka Star Child, on our Ravnica playthrough. I am a huge nerd, a massive dork, and for some reason people tell me that I am attractive. Those people are liars. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm really happy that you agreed to come on to the show. So, were you going to say something?
Nah, that was just a noise.
Ah, okay. I
Gotcha.
understand that. So, I guess you said that you played on A&I and Ravnica and stuff. Do you have a favorite character that you want to talk about, or do you just want to give like a brief description of either or, since you do Ravnica and also Isles of El? Just so then, like,
So yeah, okay. First, well, I might as well do the main campaign one. Valimin Draknok is a high elf sorcerer with draconic bloodline. His blood stems from that of a black dragon, so he has the characteristic patch of black scales under his eye and two horns that jut out of his cheeks and down towards his jaw, like that of a black dragon. Um, he was born in the great high elf city to a moon cult that was oppressed by the overlord, the main government, which are composed of sun elves. They've kind of been at odds for hundreds of years, but have settled into this very democratic, very kind of like a theological society that's dominated by the sun elves, but in like the shadows of the society, the moon elves have a lot of control. It's a lot like actual politics. But Val was born into a cult that was driven underground 100 or so years ago, and has grown up his entire life in luxury, being told that he was a promised one of this magnificent prophecy that someday that the god of the moon would be reborn inside of a child who has the blood of a black dragon. So he grew up his entire life with luxury until around his 117th birthday, when he wakes up in the middle of nowhere in a pile of hay and wanders around for a couple of years, meets a giant lizard who he names Crocs. They become really close compatriots and they travel the world making money by killing monsters until they run into the main series party with Kazian and the crew.
and if
And
you guys haven't checked out those episodes or anything, you can find them in the description or just in the channel in general.
yeah, so Valaman is the beanpole. He's kind of the brains, kind of also the charisma of the group because he's a sorcerer. Sorcerers are charisma casters. Um, he acts kind of as a Cyril Figgis kind of character. If you know who Cyril Figgis is from Archer, do you know who Cyril Figgis is?
Yes, I do. I watch Archer.
Yeah, yeah, he kind of acts like a Cyril Figgis at times. He teaches Kazian about being a royal, and he's always very curious about things. But he's also a sexual addict. That has not that's like that's a side of his character that hasn't really been discussed, but it's there.
But it's there.
It's there.
You gotta let Dino know right now. It's there.
Oh no, he knows. He knows. It's just all of his exploits have been off screen because it just hasn't been easy to fit them in naturally. Actually, when Dono sent when the Queen sent Val to go get those papers stamped and filed away, it was supposed to be a roleplay between Val and the librarian, who kind of have a thing, but he completely forgot about it, so he just kind of moved us along.
Getting it on with the librarian.
Yes, Lilith and Valaman.
There you go.
So that's basically Val in a nutshell.
Nice.
Val is more or less when I wanted to make a character for this campaign. I more or less I wanted to remake a character that I had in a campaign a year and a half before.
Okay.
See, I really love the character from Shakespeare's Midsummer's Night Dream. His name is Puck. He's like a spirit. He kind of is a trickster, stuff like that. So my first few Dungeons and Dragons characters were all named Puck.
There you go.
And then I found myself only liking the name Puck when I named characters. So I started using the random name generator on D&D Beyond.
See, I don't use the random name generator in
Oh
D&D
my god, I love
Beyond.
it so much.
I use
I love
something
it.
else called like fantasy name generator. So then like I'll just like pull up a race or a certain class and do neutral names, male names, whatever. Heck, sometimes
Oh,
I'll do the total opposite. Oh yeah, it's really good. Gives you like a bunch of
yeah.
different names that you can go through. Some are completely stupid. Like I don't think
Yeah.
I'm gonna call a character bleh.
Those are hilarious. I love those kinds of names.
Ugh.
I love those kinds of names.
You can tell it's a cheesy website. But anyways, going on to the topic of what we're having for this episode, we wanted to discuss, I believe, was role playing, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yes, roleplay. It's all about roleplaying at its core. Is roleplay actually in the history of in the great scheme of where Dungeons and Dragons used to be and where Dungeons and Dragons is today. Roleplay used to be literally none of what the experience was all about. In the very early stages of what Dungeon like what's first edition, second edition, it was very minor. Though they like maybe the party would interact with like one person and then they'd go off on the quest and then come back and then that same person would give them gold and women and stuff like that. But now as we get now when we get to fifth edition, it's I'd like to think that role playing is the most important and most fun part of Dungeons and Dragons, but a lot of people don't really
See that?
see that and they don't use it effectively. But when people do use role play effectively, you get great stories with lovable characters like that in Critical Role and the Adventure Zone and stuff like that. So I feel like more people should try to learn some improv skills.
Mm.
Uh, and rule number one of improv is yes and, which is that's a double-edged sword. Because if you yes and into a direction that breaks the DM's story, the DM has every right to be like, okay, however, here's a bunch of penalties because you're kind of breaking my world here, dude. Dick move.
Mm.
And that's yes and is also a very important part of like character interactions. Like if definitely if you're going to establish a past or a relationship between two characters, you and that person who's playing that character should definitely 100% be talking about it prior to the thing. But I think that sometimes the best kinds of like backstory and relationship building stuff are stuff that's just like thrown in.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
for example, you make an offhanded remark about like at a tavern about how you did this, this, and this. Like, let's say Valaman is at the bar with all his friends, and how he makes an offhanded remark about how he laid with a farmer's daughter in a few times back. What your DM could then do with that is later on meet a very upset farmer whose
Yeah.
daughter is pregnant, and we have no idea.
Who the
He has no
father
idea who the
is.
father is. That could be like a lot of little offhanded remarks could spin into great side quests and stuff.
Mm.
So that's why roleplay roleplay is the most important. It's the best part of Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion.
In your opinion, in your opinion, you believe that even though like you have all kinds of awesome action sequences and a lot of initiative and stuff, roleplay kind of gets the story moving along. I feel is something you're trying to say.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
from what
Remember?
I'm seeing,
Okay. Go. You can
okay.
talk. I've
So
talked too much.
no, it's okay. I love it when people ramble on the show. What I kind of picture and what I personally love to do is when it comes to traveling montages, I feel like that is the hardest thing for a DM to do because when you have players that might be antisocial or you got spotlight characters, what I like to call where they just talk and everything and stuff, you really got to find those moments when it comes to like filling in that stuff. You can give them like the whole entire scenery. You can give them anything that goes on, but I guess in order to make a character look cool and have fun with the group and stuff, I feel like a lot of characters need to learn how to work on character arcs. And as someone as a DM, that should be a goal for at least a DM, is to at least teach something through their own character that they might not even know was needed or was even there.
Right. Yeah.
Do you catch my drift?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have one of my backup characters is actually a really good example of this. So one of my backup characters that I have, just in case Val or Yurith dies, honestly, this Yurith being the bird bard star child from the Ravnica campaign, this backup character is a lizard folk artificer battlesmith. So my idea, my vision going into making this character was kind of a mix between Spock, Data, and just Spock, Data, and Crux. I just wanted Crux. I wanted a character like Crux to stand on 2 feet and speak monotone and legit only facts.
Going
But
into what you were saying just now and stuff, is it okay if I talk? I mean, if you want to keep rambling,
go
keep
for it.
rambling. Okay.
Go for it. It's your show.
Well, you're the guest too. But you were mentioning tone and stuff, and I feel like a lot of players, but also a lot of DMs too, kind of look past, in a way, the tone when it comes to characters. Sometimes they'll just stick with one, like, accent, I'm gonna say. So it's like, say you have a southern accent, and you make all dwarves have a southern accent, but then you have all elves have this. And it can be really different when it comes to having something sound a little bit silly or something a little more serious. But, like, what's your impression when it comes to tone with characters, with roleplay, especially?
Um. Well, character voices are fun. Character voices are a lot of fun. I love character voices. Tone, like there's like certain. Each race has a lore. Each race has different codes that they like to live by, and what you can do with these different lores that these races have you can either flip them on their heads or just play along with them. For example, Valaman, he's a high elf. High elves are known for looking down on all other races. But if you look back at what I've done with Valaman, he doesn't really see anyone as less than himself. And my explanation for that is that he grew up underground, in the where the cult was living, and he never got to see any of the high elf not look down on any other race, and he may have read it in books, but he was like, oh well, that might have been a long time ago, but that's not a practice that we do today. So the idea is that high elves learn to talk down to other races. It's a learned behavior, and Val hasn't learned that behavior. So that's just one way that you you take the lore of a race and you either play off of it or you flip it on its head. uh, so this backup character, this lizard folk artificer, lizard folk actually look down on intelligence. They look for strength, and they look down on intelligence. So this battlesmith artificer lizard folk is kicked out of his tribe because he's too intelligent. And so his character arc is going to be learning to accept himself for his intelligence, and forgive the savage beasts that are his people. But that's just me playing playing off of the lore that lizard folk look down on intelligence and idolize strength overall. So that's a way to play with the tone of the race, and way to play with and making your character as unique as possible.
That's
Uh,
really cool. I really like that. Like,
yeah.
how you
So
describe that. I understand what you're saying and stuff.
yeah. I really want to talk about all my characters. I love my characters so much. So Yurith. I'm gonna say a whole lot of character background stuff that has not been touched on at all for the Ragnarok campaign.
They want to be
Ravnica.
Magic the Gathering campaign, but really it's just a bunch of people intimidating each other.
Ravnica. So yeah, Yerith is a bird bard. He's kind of like a falcon, Arakakra. He's got little white specks all over his body, like looking like stars. Hence the name Star Child. He's actually a runaway prince. 2 or 3 years before we see him in the campaign, he joins the guild. But before that, he was a prince. He was the fifth in line of a clutch of eggs. He was the last one to hatch 5 eggs, meaning that if he was gonna do anything important with his life, many of his brothers would have to die, and meaning that because he's so low in the line, he'd end up having to train to be a commander. He doesn't really like being a command. He doesn't want to be a war general. He doesn't want to send his people to death to die. So he decided to run away. Uh, I personally don't know much about Orichalcra lore. I haven't looked into Orichalcra lore, but so I decided to direct his backstory with what I knew about royal succession.
There you
So
go. That's really cool.
yeah,
I really, really like your creativity. I love it when players have like really unique character sheets or really character backgrounds. Like, for instance, I have someone in my group that is a half known, like, health. Bleh, can't talk. I'm going to cut this out. 3, 2, 1. I have a friend who has a half elf and half gnome character. So it's half elf and half gnome.
how tall is it?
It is 4'1".
Oh, all right.
Weighs about like 60 pounds at least.
That's a very
And
magical creature.
oh yeah, has dark vision, has pointy ears, has a very like not like the standard gnome that you would think of. That's obsessed with glitter magic. So anything like dancing lights, anything,
Aw.
and is also a bard.
Oh, Yerith is a bard as well. I have, let's see,
I only have like
three
3 bards.
bard characters here on my D&D Beyond sheet. Well, my characters slot, my character creator on D&D Beyond. That's what I'm looking at while I'm talking about all these characters.
Yeah. So I know we were talking a little bit about some of your characters, but also you want to talk a little bit about character creation. What's your viewpoint when it comes to making characters? For instance, for me, my style when it comes to making a player's like character sheet and everything else like that. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll like use color theory. For instance, like Iris has a lot of color theory deep into her for like a show not tell type of thing. But also, like, some people will be like, backstory, must be hero, must have everything die.
That's lame.
Do you understand
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say?
don't Batman your character. Batman's already been done. Look for stuff that hasn't necessarily been done. I know Yerith's backstory is kind of typical. Last in line, doesn't want to be a general, doesn't want any of his brothers to die in order to gain political power, so he left. That's kind of
You're kind
standard.
of doing the
But
opposite of what Frozen did with Hans.
oh yeah, yeah. I didn't even realize that. Good point. So what I liked when I make characters, I like to take a character that already exists. Make a slightly different version of of the character that already exists, and then from the character that you've just made, make it slightly different, and just keep going until you have a completely new character.
So basically, what I'm catching and stuff is don't just stick with your first character idea. Keep going on it. Like, keep coming back to it, making like different adjustments, adding things or subtracting things. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if we wanted to, we could take Prince Zuko. Okay?
Okay.
And then we make a character that's slightly different. So we have Prince Zuko in Dungeons and Dragons. So that means the Fire Nation's pretty snotty. Let's make him a high elf. He needs fire power, so let's make him Draconic Bloodline, Red Dragon. What do we know about Red Dragons? Red Dragons are very primal, they're very angry. So instead of just having the scar over his eye, let's make the entire half of his face just covered in red scales. Now let's make a slightly different character. What if it wasn't a red dragon? what if it wasn't even? What if it wasn't a red dragon? Let's make it the complete opposite of the chromatic dragons. Let's make it a
Half
white
orc.
dragon.
Oh,
Hmm?
that works. I was gonna say half orc.
Half orc. The complete opposite of the dramatic. Well, oh yeah, but we're trying. Yeah. So
I understand. I'm just throwing stuff at
let's
you.
make it a. Let's make him a white dragon. So we've got a Prince Zuko like character. We have a Prince Zuko like character, but instead of spitting fire, he spits ice. But because it's white, he's a white dragon. He's very primal. He's very angry. What do you know about white dragons in Dungeons and Dragons?
Barely anything, because I don't use dragons a lot as a DM. I use a lot
Okay,
of wacky
I need to
stuff.
confess something. I
Okay,
love dragons. I
that's
re-
okay.
I really love dragons, and I know a lot. I've seen so many videos on the different kinds of dragons in Dungeons and Dragons.
See,
So
that's me
white
with the
dragon,
fays and like the merfolk stuff when it comes to D&D. That's me.
cool. Okay,
Okay,
so
continue.
white dragons are the most animalistic. They're barely intelligent creatures. So if we were to put some of those characteristics on this white Prince Zuko character, who is a high elf, a draconic sorcerer, but with white dragon blood. Now we have a weird discoloration in his hair, maybe some white scales all over his body. But what would his personality look like? He's now this very uncontrolled animalistic creature, but he also believes that he's the pinnacle of all things because he's a white high elf. Uh, so what you've now done is you've created a character that if you want it to fit in the world, you need to create an environment for that character to come out of. So an ice city in ice in like the north, full of high elves who broke away from the normal elves, normal high elf society, and were cast out for probably being too animalistic and breeding with white dragons in the past. And so now they're like Genghis Khan. Now our Prince Zuko character is more like Genghis Khan. So we went from Prince Zuko and we created this new character. But it's funny if we take the two characters that we made and put them together, we get Todoroki.
Oh my gosh, you're not wrong. Oh,
uh, so I had what I like. What I keep stepping on you trying to say things. I'm so sorry.
it's perfectly okay. I just want to remind the viewers that if you are liking this episode or you're liking this episode of Player Viewpoint, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button and also ring that notification bell to get notified on our new videos. Anyways, you may continue.
Okay, so I actually have another backup character that I can't wait to play, but
Okay,
also
this
wish
will
that
be
I'd
the
never
last
have.
one and stuff because we're getting
Right,
very
I
close to
talked to
the
him.
ending. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
We're having fun.
okay, so I have two backup characters, which I hope I never get to play, but I really hope I get to play at the same time. So I am a musical nerd, so I really liked The Greatest Showman, and I wanted to do a character like The Greatest Showman, but I also really like Alistair from Has Been Hotel. So
Oh no,
how
I
would I
tried to.
how would I mash those together? And then a thought came out the back of my head. What about that weird kind of animatronic fortune machine? How would I combine all these really cool showistic characters into one? So I decided to create a bard who is a warforged, and
I
he
love
has a
that.
top hat, and
I
he uses College of Swords. So we have this very tall metal circus ringleader character who speaks as though he's talking in an old radio, and he's got a coin slot and a wheel as his torso.
Can I say something wicked funny?
Go for it.
I have someone in my group that literally is the spitting image of like a mixture between Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders and Angel Dust.
Oh my god.
So that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Except it's a rogue instead of a bard.
Oh.
It's a
Well,
rogue and then like has bits and pieces of knowing like wizarding stuff. Mainly because they wanted to have like the college and stuff, but also be part of the criminal family. So it would be like had to make a homebrew class for it.
Okay.
So basically, it was like any spell, like it was like it had normal spells and everything else like that. But I took a lot from the monster manual when it came to anything Arachna, and did a lot of homebrew stuff when it comes to it. But yeah, it was really really interesting because now he, like with a bonus action, just to give you a general idea, you're able to have 6 limbs and pull out your weapon. But we don't have anything like, we have some guns, but he can't find his Tommy gun because it's like not in anywhere where the group is at the moment.
Right.
But having that criminal background family gave me so many different ideas for how to like rebuild that world. And that's the great thing about having like players that come up with really unique characters. Like all the characters you named off, they're wicked unique.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is like the backbone of a great world, but also the background of a great campaign. And when you get to have your players play that, they're just making the world kind of go more. And it works kind of like clockwork in a way.
Yeah. The DM makes a world, but also builds the world from the characters, and the characters build the world as well. It works vice versa. The characters exist, but how do they exist, and what do we make them do later on?
That's some DM big brain tips for you folks.
Big DM tips. Big brain boy.
Well, anyways, thank you so much. Do you
I'm
want me to
so
call you
happy I got
Goon?
to
Do
do
you
this.
want me to call you Nalin? What do you want me to call you?
Just call me Goon.
I'll call you
Okay.
Goon.
Okay.
Alrighty. Do you have any questions for me before we end this little clip?
Nah, we good.
Alrighty. So there you have it, folks. This has been DM Junkies, a show made by DMs for DMs. If you have enjoyed Player Viewpoint, please leave a comment below because I love to know what you guys think. Also, thank you so much, Goon, for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on TikTok. People know me as Goon_Daddy there. Instagram is Noah_Goon_Daddy_Allen. I do Twitch. Twitch is Nalin0n22. I don't use Facebook. Don't try to contact me there. I have a YouTube as well. I haven't uploaded it to a while. It's just Noah Allen there. And that's basically everywhere you can find me, unless you really want Twitter. But who wants Twitter? Uh so yeah, that's me. I can be also found on the Adventures Initiative stream, the Ravnica stream, and probably in the dreams of other people.
Oh, oof.
I eat dreams.
Oh
I
boy.
subsist on human dreams.
Well, anyways, this has been DM Junkies, and don't forget to just roll it.